Good morning, or afternoon, or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. So here we are on day 6 of Lent, and I've been thinking about, this is kind of a carryover from yesterday. How do we address injustice in this world in a way that will deal with it, in a way that will cause it to end? Because, of course, people speak out a lot against injustice in this world, but how often is it that we're actually able to capture the mechanisms by which to end these injustices, and furthermore set things up so that further injustice doesn't occur in the future? I'm going to be addressing Paul's letters over the next few videos. So we're going to start with the letter of Paul to the Romans. And there's the whole preface. He always puts a preface in his letters about, this is who I am, this is the people who are around me, this is why I'm writing to you. So the letter kind of starts actually at 1 verse 8. First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for you all, because your faith is published throughout the whole world. For God is my witness, whom I serve in my spirit in the gospel of his Son, that without ceasing I make mention of you, always in my prayers, beseeching that by some means, one time or other, I might have a prosperous journey by the will of God to come unto you. So he did want to travel to these places and see for himself how the people were living and meet them and, speak to them about the word of Christ. God is my witness, whom I serve in my spirit in the gospel of his Son, that without ceasing I make mention of you. So he's talking about praying for them. I might bestow among you some spiritual gift, that you might be strengthened. I might be comforted together with you through our mutual faith, both yours and mine. So he does speak here about the fact that some of the Romans do in fact have strong faith. Now, my brethren, I would that ye should not be ignorant, how that I have oftentimes purposed to come unto you, but have been let hitherto, that I might have some fruits among you, as I have among the other Gentiles. I am ready to preach ye gospel to you also that are at Rome. I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Grecian. The just shall live by faith. And he talks a lot about coming, not just his coming to God and coming to know God, but the way in which many people come to know God. And he starts talking about being full of all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, of murder, of debate, of deceit, taking all things in the evil part, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, doers of wrong, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, such as can never be appeased, merciless. Which men, though they know ye law of God, how that they will which commit such things are worthy of death, yet not only do the same, but also favor them that do them. So he's talking too about people among the Roman Empire then also taking part in these activities. We know that the judgment of God is according to truth against them which commit such things. And thinkest thou this, O thou man, that condemnest them which do such things, and doest the same, that thou shalt escape the judgment of God? Who will reward every man according to his works? So there is this idea in Christianity, and I think in faith in general, a lot of times that people will reap the rewards of their actions for good or for bad. And this often is true, but not always. There are periods of time where people are rewarded for behaving the worst. And so Paul acknowledges that here too. The works of Christ very much fought back against the wickedness of man. He was acting in a way as to bring notice to iniquities in that period of time. And you also have John the Baptist, who spoke against Herod's marriage to his brother's widow, and that having been the thing which got him killed. But then when you're looking at the letters of Paul, a lot of what he's doing is simply bringing to notice the wickedness of man in these letters. But how much is that actually doing to combat that wickedness? Probably people who would be reading the epistles of Paul would already be open to his point of view for the most part. Like, you're not likely to read something that you know you're going to disagree with and try to get something out of it. And especially if you are operating within iniquity. So how do we get this message to the people who need to hear it the most? And how is that message delivered in such a way as to force its understanding? It can be very difficult to communicate with somebody when you're operating outside of what they feel comfortable with. People have ways of putting up all kinds of boundaries to direct communication. And when someone is operating in bad faith and within that type of manipulation, it is very difficult to try to communicate to them what needs to be done. Therefore thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that condemnest. For in that thou condemnest another, thou condemnest thyself. For thou that condemnest doest the same things. So he's saying, like, I see among you many who would speak to doing such good works, but are actually just as bad as the rest. But we know that the judgment of God is according to truth against them which commit such things. This again, I think I mentioned in a couple of videos so far how at church we've been talking about God's punishment and the idea of God's punishment. And it kind of seems like something that might not actually exist. In a world in which we have had the redemption through Christ, the likelihood of God's punishment is very, very small. What is much more likely to happen is that someone will, through merit of their own actions, see repercussions, but those being a direct result of actions that they've taken. And one of the more destructive aspects of actions that people take against others is that they're not able to foresee the long-term effects of these things that they often do just merely to, in that moment, somewhat make their own situation better, or perceivedly so. A lot of times that's not even true. People do these things that they think is going to make their life better. It doesn't actually end up doing that. And it has long-lasting and long-reaching negative repercussions for other people that they end up not even witnessing and would potentially be buffering themselves against. So these things create really long-lasting legacies for these people in a way that when we talk about Paul's letters, we're talking very much about things that he wrote to encourage good behavior in others and also to spread the message of the life of Jesus Christ. But that message is only going to be received, as, Jesus did talk about the parable of the sower, which is basically that your message is most likely to reach the ears of the people who are already primed and ready to hear it. So while it's good that he reached out to these people, it's interesting to also contemplate the effects that these letters might have had at the time and on whom these letters might have had the most effect. So we didn't get very far into his letter to the Romans today, but these are all things that I'm going to be also thinking about throughout Lent, and how we can all have the best effect on each other, and how we can discourage. What is the best way to discourage works of evil in this world? Is it actually punishment, Are there ways to dissuade people from doing things that don't have as much to do with punishment, but have more to do with leading them on a different path that will be more productive for us all? So I will leave you with that today. I would love to hear from all of you down in the comments how your Lent is shaping up so far, how you're going with your sacrifices for Lent, what it is that you've been giving up, and the things that have crossed your mind during this season. I hope you stay blessed and have a lovely day.